And you notice right there above tools beside Bibles, X recorder is what I use to record the footage. That's what you can usually see running up at the top of the screen. I was using the AZ recorder, but for some reason with the newer phone, it kept crashing on me. And I really couldn't figure out why. But this one operates the same. If I click on it, you can see there you have pause, stop recording, and a few other editing options. One thing though is if you do not stop the recording, it's not going to save. So, what are we here for? Well, as you all know, Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m., your local time, is going to be Beldum Community Day Classic. And this is one you absolutely do not want to miss. And this is because Metagross is and will stay the best steel type in the game. Unless some brand new fangled thing comes out to offset him, he is consistently going to be at the top. He has a Mega Evolution coming up, and for once we're not going to be worried about the Pokemon in this episode. The Pokemon Go ASMR series is basically a way to not compete with bigger channels like Trainer Club, Pokédaxy. They have much better editing, much better work than I do, and I'm just finding my own way to make Pokemon Go enjoyable for people. Basically, these daily adventures, or semi-daily adventures, with no talking, is just a way for people to go on the experience without having to leave their seat. For instance, one day you may get some shinies, one day we may fight a really cool shadow boss, we may get invited to some raids, etc. You just never know what'll happen day to day, but we'll make sure something happens. Now, purpose of today's video, and why we're talking at all, is let's go over how I get storage ready for these big events. Now, this is going to show you some key ways to thin down your storage. I'll go over them now. So right off the bat, when clearing my storage up for a major event where I know I'm going to be catching all day, automatically go to 0 star, and unless it is a shadow Pokemon or a legendary that you absolutely love, get rid of all of them. 0 star Pokemon have stats so low they're not even useful for PvP. So what we want to do is press and, exclamation point means not shadow. The reason we leave shadow Pokemon out of this, and sorry if you can hear the air conditioning in the back, or Pup and I are on our walk this morning, moving away from the area. Alright. Now, the reason you do not want to throw shadow Pokemon away at all is because a 0% IV shadow Pokemon outperforms a 100% IV normal version of the same Pokemon. So, even if it's terrible, it's going to be better than the normal version, no matter what. So we always want to exclude them. And at this point, you can just grab it, select all, and they're gone. Now you can safely do the same thing with 1 star Pokemon as well. So switch the 0 to 1. Select them, get rid of them all. And if you have XLs, smalls, larges, if that's your thing, go ahead and evolve them before you transfer them. But if you're going to plan on playing Pokemon Go for a long time, really not that important. The badge is not hard to platinum. So, we've got rid of those two. What now? Typically, your PvP Pokemon are going to be your 2 star Pokemon. They're going to have as low of attack as possible. High defense, high HP. That always falls under the 2-star range. So let's flip the script here. And let's switch to still not Shadow Pokemon. We always want to keep that there. But instead of going by stars, let's say 2 attack. Except for extremely niche situations like Ultra League, and even then it's rare in the Ultra League, you never want anything with 2 attack. That is literally pointless. So get rid of them safely. Now here is an unpopular opinion, but it is one that I've found better. If I'm to use Pokemon for PvP, it does not have 0 or worst case scenario 1 attack. If I'm raiding, you want it to have the maximum attack possible. Meaning, technically, I have no use for Pokemon with 3 attack either. Not just the 2. But if I'm using a Pokemon for raids and it doesn't have max attack, it's not meeting its full potential. Now, one thing I will be more lenient on here is, if I am tossing Pokemon with 3 attack, I will keep legendaries too. But you notice here, it does not say legendaries is an option, so event Pokemon don't care about, XXS don't care about, goodbye. And just like that, let's see where we're at now. We have thinned our bag down to 2207 out of 3200. Will we need 1,100 Pokemon to catch on Beldum Day? Probably not. So, what is left? At this point, you should be mostly good with your bag. You've basically narrowed down all the 0 and 1 stars. You've basically cut out anything with a medium attack range. And you've just kept the Pokemon good for PvP, as well as the Pokemon that are going to be best optimized for raiding. But have we? We limited it to 4 attack, but here's the problem. It needs to be 4 attack and 3-star. So there's one more group we can eliminate, and that is 4 attack and 2-star. Because if it's not 100% IV, then the only 4 attacks we have left are 2 and 3 stars. And if we're raiding, of course, we want the best one possible. Now, you notice it did grab a Shadow Pokemon there. I have a tendency to always star the Shadow Pokemons if I can remember it, so they don't accidentally get transferred. But again, we just want to always add our not Shadow, so that it leaves them out of the list, so we don't accidentally throw them away. And just like that, your bag is optimized and ready for Community Day. 2176 for me. And again, it's because a lot of the Pokemon that I would have otherwise eliminated are either Pokemon for trades or Pokemon that I am actively doing something with in PvP in some way or another. So, hopefully that helps get everyone ready for Community Day. As I mentioned, you definitely want to load up on as many Beldum as possible, because Metagross is not going anywhere anytime soon. He's basically unrivaled when it comes to steel types, especially considering he has a Mega Evolution coming up. So it's absolutely essential, if you can, to get a full team of 6 of these ready to go. So thanks for watching. We will see you next time.